Hey y'all, it's Julie Billieu with Caring Transitions of Winston-Salem, and I've still got my bright pink sunglasses on. Welcome to Day One Living in Winston-Salem, where we focus on helping older adults live life to the fullest. We have a treat today. We have a very special guest with us, Mickey Thigpen from Senior Care Authority. And giving up driving can be a significant pain point for both older adults and their children. Fortunately, Mickey has a program that eases the stress from this decision. We want to empower older adults with self-awareness and the ability to make informed choices about their driving future. Mickey has extensive experience in assisting families navigate the complexities of senior care. And today, he'll be sharing his insights from his presentation, A Safe Drive Through the Aging Process. Mickey, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about Senior Care Authority.
Sure. Senior Care Authority is a national company. We have maybe 100 sites in the U.S., and we're a company of elder care consultants.
Okay.
We specialize in placement assistance. We help families find the right assisted living and memory care community at no cost to the family, because the communities pay that fee. So one aspect of our business is placement assistance. The second aspect of it is care management, just what you would think of as a typical case management situation. I help people age in place by linking them up with the services they need and moving them where they need to move to. As you know, you've helped me do that. So all manner of case management to help families through the aging process.
Awesome.
And then the third thing is why we're here.
Yes.
That's a program called Beyond Driving with Dignity.
Okay.
And it's an assisted self-assessment program for drivers. It enables an older driver to maintain autonomy,
Okay.
maintain dignity, take a look at his or her driving performance and her health, and decide for him or herself whether or not it's time to give up driving, or if they feel comfortable continuing to do it.
So this is like an interview process you go through?
Yeah, it's pretty much a 2-hour interview. We have sort of a learning conversation, and we talk, and might do a little bit of physical stuff like range of motion and stuff like that, and a few cognitive assessments, clock drawing, and the Snelling-Mays test, and roadside ID and stuff like that. Spend a couple hours together. The interesting thing is, at the beginning, I give them what's called Am I a Safe Driver questionnaire.
Okay.
They fill that out. And then we spend a couple of hours doing all this stuff, and I give them the same questionnaire again. And they fill it out again. And then we compare them to see if anything has changed in the past 2 hours. And the important thing is, at the end of that time, the driver decides whether or not it's time to give up driving.
Okay.
And once that decision is made, and only then, we invite the family back in.
Okay.
And the driver tells the family what the decision is.
Okay.
And the neat thing is, while they're there, if the driver decides to give up driving, we have a family agreement.
Okay.
So that the various family members make commitments to what they'll do to maintain the independence of the person that's giving up driving.
Awesome.
And then I write them up a written report and send that back to them.
Okay.
And then I have, as you'll see today, one presentation. I have several presentations, some for the public and some for CEUs, for professionals. That describe the BDD program.
Okay. Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you being here today, and I cannot wait to hear more about the program. And, I'm all about empowerment of our older adults, and that's one of the reasons we've done Day One Living in Winston-Salem. So I can't wait to hear about a little bit more about why we need to be focused on this point.
Oh boy, let's learn.
All right, absolutely. Thanks.
Folks, we're going to go through the Senior Care Authority presentation of safe driving through the aging process. We won't take but 15 minutes or so, but I want to introduce you to some of the information that's provided to older drivers to help them get some insight about their driving future. And of course, as I said, self-awareness is a big deal. It helps so much just to have a little insight into your own fitness to drive, and that can help you adjust your driving habits. We're going to give you some tips and some warning signs in here. The whole goal of this is to help you stay safe on the road. And you say, so younger drivers are safer? Not really, you think, because like between texting and eating and drinking and talking and laughing and turning around, how can they possibly be safer? And in many ways, they aren't safer. But in one particular way, they're safer because they're not as prone to injury. It's not so much that they get in a lot more accidents; it's that the results of those accidents are so much more severe for older folks. Um, when you have basically anytime there's a two-car fatal collision, uh, the older driver, if one of those drivers is 70 years old or older, the older driver is 3.5 times more likely to be killed than the younger driver, whether the older driver caused the accident, the collision, or not. And you wonder why. Well, we're more frail. Our bones are brittle. Our necks don't hold up as well on impact. So we just are more likely to suffer mortality on the basis of a collision than are folks that are a lot younger. Here's a good example. There, two ladies that this is out of Pennsylvania. Two ladies lived together in the same building, and they went out one morning just to drive around and do some chores. And a 24-year-old guy crossed the midline, rammed them head on, uh, and both the driver, who was 74, and the passenger, who was 83, died. The 24-year-old, he's fine. He caused it. The collision was terrible for both cars, but he survived it. No problem. So you think it's bad if you're 70 or older. For drivers 85 and older, they're 9 times more likely to die in a crash than people 25 to 69. And again, it's that frailty issue. You just can't hold up under the rigors of a traumatic collision. And on top of that, if you think about it, the National Traffic Highway Safety Administration has statistics, and they say that on average, Americans drive, or they outlive their safe driving by 7 to 10 years, which is to say, if you keep driving till you die, just backdoor statistics, if you keep driving till you die, you probably drove 7 years or more longer than you should have. So all of us are really reticent to look that straight in the eye and be honest with ourselves and others. But it's a deadly decision to be made. Let me give you some warning signs here. Um, we'll start off with these. And you'll notice a lot of these warning signs deal with lanes, one way or the other. If you change lanes too rapidly, if you drift into other lanes, if you forget to give a turn signal before you change lanes, or you give the signal and you don't forget to take it off and you ride down the road with a left turn signal on. Of course, um, uh, anytime you have a high frequency of close calls, or you see dents or scrapes, if they're on the car or on the fences or the mailboxes, garage doors, anywhere else. My degree was in experimental psychology, and we had a measure technique. One of them was called permanent products. You just weigh the wet diapers to measure incontinence. Well, in this case, all you got to do is count the dents and scrapes, and that'll help you determine whether or not you're still a safe driver. Some others, more conflict on the road. When you notice that a lot of other people are honking at you or waving their hands at you, or you remember that old joke about the old lady who was so happy that while she was driving, all the other drivers gave her the Hawaiian greeting, and she was so happy to give that Hawaiian greeting back to them. So anything that shows you in the behavior of other drivers that, hey, they wished you weren't there, that's a warning sign. Getting lost more often, getting lost in familiar areas at all is a problem, and it is a warning sign. And of course, there's no better warning sign than the fact that nobody will ride with you. I was talking to a gentleman this morning. When he was a young man, he took a hair-raising drive with his 92-year-old grandfather. And it can be a very serious and scary experience. So if nobody will get in your car with you, that should tell you something. So what can you do to continue driving safely? And when I say that, uh, let's say that we're trying to reduce the risk of driving for older drivers, not eliminate the risk. It can't be eliminated, but there's some things you can do. You can stay on familiar roads only. You can drive shorter distances. I know my mother-in-law, the last several years that she drove, she just put a 3 mile circle around her house. So everything she needed was within that circle. She could go to the drugstore, go to the grocery store, but she would not go outside outside that perimeter. That's a good idea. Also, stay off the busy roads. Get on the roads that are less traveled. Only drive during daytime hours. My wife has refused to drive at night for years. But you've got two systems of vision in your eyeball. You got the rod cells and the cone cells, and one gives you vision in daylight, and the other gives you vision at night. And around dusk, those two cell systems are sort of interacting and don't hand the ball off smoothly. So especially at dusk, you're just likely not to see as well. And then, of course, night vision is a pretty common limitation for older folks. So stay out on daytime hours only, but not on rush hour hours. Stay away from the road. There's nothing at that grocery store that won't still be there at 10:30 or 11 in the morning. And above all, avoid bad weather driving. Above all, avoid that. You're more likely to get stranded. And if you get stranded, it's kind of like collisions. You're more likely to suffer severe injury or death because of that stranding. It's just, so you can reduce the risk, but you can't eliminate the risk. All of those things we just told you, they're important, but they won't keep you from getting into a very dangerous situation and maybe a fiery collision. So keep that in mind. So, as I said, going back through these things, it might can get your risk out of the bright red high, but it's not going to get you back down into the low risk. So just take that to mind, keep these in mind, and exercise self-discipline and control. Little insight won't hurt a bit. So a lot of us will say things like, I've been driving for 65 years and I've never had an accident, which is often true. But at our age, the quote ought to be, and I've not been driving that long. I've only been driving 58 years. But anyhow, yeah, the quote ought to be, I've been driving for 65 years and I've never had an accident yet. It makes very little difference what your past was. It's what the future is going to be. So here's the most dangerous thing for an older driver. It's an intersection. I love that quote down at the bottom by the Department of Transportation. Intersections are planned points of conflict in any roadway systems. Intersections are not bugs, they're features. And you get a great idea from this photograph. You're throwing cars at each other from four directions. And they're extremely dangerous. We find that a very high percentage of older driver fatalities occur at intersections, especially with left turns. There's nothing more dangerous for an older driver than a left turn. So if you start at age 65, your probability of getting into an accident involving a left turn goes up 8% every year. 8% at 66, 8% at 67. So I've got already a 64% higher probability than I had at 65. Left turns are dangerous. Look 3 times, not once. Look 3 times or 4. Left turns are very dangerous. So just remember this: chronological age is not the absolute predictor of safe driving or unsafe driving. Some folks can drive perfectly well at 95, others can't drive very well at 55. So it's not all about your age, but the impact of age just can't be denied. It's a factor. If for example, nice little cartoon here. I'm starting to think retesting seniors for driving isn't a bad idea. And it isn't, because the guy on the other side is asking a mailbox for his takeout order. That makes for problems. So one thing that can help quite a bit is exercise and driving. Yale University did a study, and the study only lasted 3 months. Bear that in mind. It was only a 3 month study, and they found that exercises involving stretching activities with the arms and the legs, as well as some walking, greatly improved driver safety. They found that drivers who participated in the exercise made 37% fewer critical errors than those who didn't. And in only that 3 month period, the driving skills of participants who did not exercise declined over that 3 month period. It's incredible. So, stretching is really important. If you think about how much stretching you do, how much turning you do, your range of motion with your torso, your neck, your arms, your legs, it's all very important. Exercising can really extend your duration of safe driving. So, why do we resist? Why are we reluctant? Well, a lot of times we just don't want to be a burden to other folks. We don't want our family or friends to have to take us places. And again, it's a big loss. Every loss in life is grievous, and giving up driving is another of those milestone losses that hits us. It also allows for fewer social opportunities. You think if you give up driving, especially if you haven't made prior plans for other transportation. But isolation and loneliness has found to correlate not just with depression and anxiety, but also with high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, and we are so you're legitimately concerned about losing social opportunities when you give up driving, which is why it's so important that you make plans in advance. Uh, you can attend mature driving. AARP has a great mature driving class. I would recommend it to everyone. Consult your physician, have open ears, and actually listen to your friends and families and what they're saying. And right now, start planning for alternative ways of meeting your transportation needs. Are there public transportation options? Do you know how to use Lyft? Do you know how to uh, uh, get a cab? Use the bus? Call friends. Have a list of friends and family and rotate through them so you don't burn them out. But start planning now while you can still drive to do that. Here's something you can do. You can make an agreement with the person you trust most, and you say that if that person tells you that you can't drive anymore, you'll agree with them and you won't cause trouble because of it. That's a great thing to do in advance. Just turn that over as if it's just another kind of advanced directive. So basically, the key to successful retirement from driving is it depends almost entirely on your ability to find and to implement practical transportation alternatives. The more options you've got to maintain your independence, the healthier and the more successful your retirement from driving will be. Uh, so, whether you think you can or you can't, this is a great quote by Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right. When you compare the attitude and response of these two ladies to the same situation, one's going to be healthy about it and happy about it, and the other one's going to be kind of miserable. So, our numbers down there at the bottom. Feel free to call us, and be glad to help you out. We have presentations for both the public and CEUs for professionals. It's been a great time presenting this to you. I I've enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you learned something. Thanks a lot. End recording.